Good morning, students. Today's lecture is on Derrida's life and works, the introduction of French philosopher who has given us the theory of deconstruction. Uh, so, deconstruction is associated with Derrida. So, when we talk about structuralism, post-structuralism, the theories which come after new criticism, the weakening of these theory has been done by Clint Brooks and Nair Richards. So, these theories are further taken into new dimensions by the structuralist and post-structuralist critics. So Derrida is one of those critics who gives us the theory of deconstruction. So this is Derrida. And an important term or important quotation which is famous for Derrida is where he says there is nothing outside the text. Means the text itself is important and other things remain unimportant when we talk about the text, when we evaluate the text, or when we talk about the things which are related to text, when we criticize the text. So Derrida was born on July 15, 1930 in Albayar, Algeria, in a Sephardic Jewish family. He died on October 8, 2014 in Paris, France. Derrida's writing concerns autobiography, right, which is actually writing about one's own life as a form of relation to oneself. Many of his writings are autobiographical, and immediately after World War II, Derrida started to study philosophy. In 1949, he moved to Paris where he prepared for entrance exam in philosophy for the prestigious École Normale Supérieure. Derrida failed his first attempt at this exam but passed it in his second try in 1952 at the age of 22. Indeed, Derrida entered the École Normale at a time when a remarkable generation of philosophers and thinkers was coming of age. In addition to Deleuze, there was Foucault, Althusser, Lyotard, Barthes, and Marin. Merleau-Ponty, Sartre, Diderot, Lévi-Strauss, Lacan, Ricoeur, Blanchot, and Levinas, who were still alive. The 50s in France was the time of phenomenology, and Derrida studied closely Husserl's then published work as well as some of the archival material that was then available. The result was a master's thesis from the academic year 1953 to 54 called The Problem of Genesis in Husserl's Philosophy. Derrida published this text in 1919. Most importantly, at École Normale, Derrida studied Hegel with Jean Hippolyte. Hippolyte, along with Maurice de Gendillac, was to direct Derrida's doctoral thesis, which was titled The Ideality of Literary Object. Derrida never completed this thesis, however. His studies with Hippolyte, however, led Derrida to a noticeably Hegelian reading of Husserl, one already underway through the works of Husserl's assistant Eugene Fink. Derrida claimed in his 1980 speech, The Time of a Thesis, which was presented on the occasion of him finally receiving his doctorate, that he never studied Merleau-Ponty and Sartre, and that especially he never subscribed to their readings of Husserl and phenomenology in general. The 1960s is a decade of great achievement for this generation of French thinkers. 1961 sees the publication of Foucault's monumental History of Madness, Madness and Civilization. At this time, Derrida was participating in a seminar taught by Foucault. On the basis of it, he wrote Cogito and History of Madness in 1963, in which he criticizes Foucault's early thought, especially Foucault's interpretation of Descartes. Cogito and History of Madness resulted in a rupture between Derrida and Foucault, which could never fully heal. So the relationship or the friendship could not be maintained after this work, Cogito and History of Madness. In the early 1960s, Derrida reads Heidegger and Levinas carefully. The recently published lecture course from 1964 to 1965, Heidegger's The Question of Being and History, allows us to see how Derrida developed his question to Heidegger. In 1964, Derrida publishes a long two-part essay on Levinas, Violence and Metaphysics. It is hard to determine which of Derrida's early essays is most important, but certainly Violence and Metaphysics has to be a leading candidate. And this eventually developed a friendship between Derrida and Levinas till their death. In 1967, at the age of 37, Derrida has his Enus Mirabilis, publishing 3 books at once: Writing Indifference, Voice and Phenomenon, and of Grammatology. In all three, Derrida uses the word deconstruction in passing to describe his project. The word catches on immediately and comes to define Derrida's thought. From then on up to the present, the word is bandied about, especially in the Anglophone world. It comes to be associated with a form of writing and thinking that is illogical and impulsive. Derrida evolves deconstruction as a strategy of critical questioning directed towards exposing unquestionable metaphysical assumptions and internal contradictions in philosophical and literary language. Deconstruction often involves a way of reading that concerns itself with decentering, with unmasking the problematic nature of all centers. In his celebrated work of Grammatology, Derrida unravels in details his main philosophical contention on deconstruction. Deconstruction, as such, is a critical practice which serves to interpret the Western thought by reversing or displacing the hierarchical binary opposition that provides its foundation. Now let's discuss the works written by Derrida. Adieu, Emmanuel Levinas, Paris, Kelly, 1997, which was in English, translated by Michael Noss and Pasale and brought as Adieu to Emmanuel Levinas, published by Stanford University Press in 1999, and his 3 books, which were published in 1967, which were the landmark, or which were the deciding his Enus Mirabilis, said as discussed as this Enus Mirabilis, are L'écriture et la différence, Writing and Difference, de la Grammatologie of Grammatology, La Voix et les Phénomènes, Speech and Phenomena. Sometime in 2002, Derrida was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He died on October 8, 2004. Since his death, 2 biographies on Derrida have appeared, and finally in 2004 he left the world, and the readers are still reading his books on deconstruction, and his theories are still a part of, even in our syllabus, principles of criticism, and people around the world are still having criticism, making criticism with the theories given by Derrida. So thank you very much for now, and for watching the video, and you can ask me the questions on my WhatsApp number. Thank you very much.